back to episode 5 of the Paranormal and Discovery Show.
I want to take you guys back to a time about 6 years ago.
I say 7.
Say 7? When the biggest, most scary thing came to light amongst every 7-year-old to 15-year-old.
Everyone bought it.
Everyone bought it and everyone's terrified of this thing. And then it died off. But anyway.
It died off as quickly as
it quickly died off because everyone realised, oh, this is complete bullshit. But during the time, it was one of the scariest things ever come across a little kid's mind. And that is Slenderman.
I hope you all guessed that.
Yeah, you bloody should. So, now Slenderman is a unique one because there's no actual story involved with like an origin or anything like that. It just came out of nowhere and everyone knew about it. It was like, not necessarily Bloody Mary, but everyone had their own personal, they heard about it their own way.
Yeah.
Right? So what I want to start off with is our own personal stories about Slenderman.
Yeah. So I first discovered it, I think from that YouTube series that came out that was super popular. And it was this dude in an interview and he was talking about Slenderman as if it was just an absolute guarantee that it was real. And so he was talking like, he was saying all this stuff about how he made his base like homely and stuff and what he did, and he was showing all these photos, and like, I know it was 2013, wasn't that long ago, but people generally weren't as privy to Photoshops and things like that. I mean,
people were more inclined to believe stuff than to doubt it. Now it's the other way around.
Yeah, or well, I just think it looked so real and sounded so believable and looked credible, like, because it was an actual well-made documentary. And the thing I actually want to say is that I think a lot of people believed it because back in those days, only people who made professional-looking stuff were generally professionals, right?
Yeah.
And people who made fake stuff were kids with like webcams in like 144p and like you're like, hey, this is obviously fake.
Yeah.
Nowadays, anyone can make
access
fairly professional sets and really HD cameras and stuff. But I reckon that is what actually tricked people initially. So that's probably how I found out about him.
I found about it from word to mouth, what is it called?
Yeah.
People telling stories
Word of mouth,
yeah. So like when we were kids, people would be like, "Oh, have you heard of Slenderman?" And I remember the first time like, "No, what's Slenderman?" And it's like, "Oh, it's this really tall guy with no face and a big suit." I'm like, "Oh, all right." And then they showed me the pictures, the two famous ones where he's in the background holding kids, and I was like,
the play equipment one.
Because I was like so naive, I was so gullible.
Yeah,
I was like, this is real. There's photos of him.
Yeah,
He's a real thing. This guy's scary as hell.
Yeah.
And then, so that went around for ages, and everyone would see those photos, and then the little the movie thing came out on YouTube a lot, and everyone watched that, and I was like, this is 100% guaranteed.
Because it was an adult talking as well. Like, it wasn't some like dumb kids.
And the way it works, that it wasn't sold as a story. It was sold as everyone who told the story had their own personal take on it. Everyone heard it in a different way. So it was like a boogeyman almost, you know. And there wasn't an actual like. Now it's considered a creepypasta, but there's no origin story of it. There's no this and this happened to this kid, and then. Well,
because Slenderman, it wasn't actually a story. It was just a guy.
Yeah.
He did different things to different people.
Yeah.
It wasn't like this happened on this night and then this girl disappeared. Like, it was nothing to do with that.
Yeah.
So that's what was, weird about it.
So it all started actually as It started as a Photoshop contest where this guy put 2 photos in, and it was out of the ordinary because most people just put a photo in and that was it. He put the 2 famous Slenderman photos where it's black and white. He's in the background with the kids, and he's like bent over with his head turned on the side, and it's like a freaky thing because it's like it's so abnormal. It just doesn't look right.
Yeah, there was something very disturbing about the way he kind of looked and dressed, and
because it was familiar but it was different. So when it's like that, it's
that's what makes things creepy.
Have you seen the teddy bear with the
Vsauce?
With the
you talk about that Vsauce video where he's like, what makes things creepy, and it talks about like, and it shows like a teddy bear with human's teeth, and basically, what makes things creepy is that they're almost right, but they're not quite right.
Yeah.
Like a little child with its weird laugh. It's like it should be normal, but they're not supposed to kind of have that.
Like a video of a little child standing still.
And just standing still and staring, and it's like,
kids don't. That's a kid, but they don't do that.
Coraline, remember that movie?
Oh, that's it. We gotta.
They're normal. They're normal.
We have to do a
Yeah,
video
we will.
for that. That's insane.
Yeah, we will for sure. So they're normal, but they got buttons as eyes, and it's just
the scariest
thing.
So yeah, that's what his images were. But what he did is he also added eyewitness stories to the images. So what he did, put the image on and add a little story to them, and it was freaky. So the first one, which is the famous one, which is, "We didn't want to go. We didn't want to kill them. But its persistent silence and outstretched arms horrified and comfort us at the same time." And then it said, "Photographer unknown, presumed dead." That was like, this is real.
And because a lot of the photos were back in like the 1950s-ish.
Yeah.
So it was like, well, no one actually knows the people in them.
Yeah.
So it's...
And it had a story with it, so it just seemed real. Like an eyewitness story, presumed dead, like it's just...
Yeah.
Just believe it.
I just remember thinking, no, it's got to be fake. But then people were just so persistent with it being real.
Yeah. And like we'd walk home and it'd always be in the back of my mind. Sometimes I turn around and I just wanted to turn around and see him behind me. And I need to at least I know it's true before I die.
I remember one night I woke up in the middle of the night, and this was in 2013. I would have been 14 years old. I remember I was going to the kitchen in the middle of the night to like get a glass of water. And I was just like, as you do, because this was at the peak Slenderman days, I'm just thinking like, oh fuck, Slenderman. And I freaked myself out so much. And I remember being in the kitchen, but I feel like I can feel him. Like, it's so real.
I reckon one of the main things that he seemed real as well is because everyone has the idea of shadow people. So you see something in the corner of your eye, and it's like it resembles a person. Sometimes back then you'd see it, but it wouldn't you would be like, oh, that's a shadow person, or that's Slenderman, corner of my eye, a bit taller than the average human, like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the way he blended it in so well with that foresty setting, because everything, arms were so long, the tentacle kind of things. His body looked like a thin tree trunk.
Yeah, and also what's scary is you never knew what happened when he got kids. They just
disappeared.
Zonked out. They just disappeared.
Yeah.
And the idea was that he just there's a very set rule to it. I remember people telling me, like, he only steals kids from 8 to 12. We got one more year left and then we're okay. And I'm like, oh Christ. And I'm not going to make one more year now. I'm going to get taken by this dude. Yeah, and then everyone was like, at some point, I don't even know what happened. Everyone just stopped believing it. Like, 2 years later, it just died.
Well, the thing that did it for me was when I kind of came to my senses a bit more, I was like, if he was real, why on earth would he be wearing a tuxedo?
Yeah.
Like, that just does not make sense. Like, you don't wear a tuxedo. Like, sorry. Like, why would this mythical creature that's probably existed from the dawn of time wear a tuxedo? That's just... If he wasn't wearing a tuxedo, it would be way more... Like, it would be so much more believable.
Yeah. So eventually this idea just blew up from people talking to people about it and saying, have you heard of Slenderman? It's real. And then it went insanely viral. Everyone knew about it. Fan art, cosplay, online
video
games, even a movie which came out like 5 years too late.
Yeah.
So retarded. And then there was like a little show about it which was called, I think it's called Marble Hornets.
Marble Hornets
was like
wasn't a show about Slenderman. It was a show that kind of did creepypastas, but it was a YouTube channel and it made videos that it was basically creepypasta videos.
That made it like real in reality.
Well, some of them didn't even have storylines. They'd just be a camera and it would just show someone watching somebody while they slept and be like, holy fuck, it's so oh my god. Or just stuff like that.
Yeah.
And it looked as if it was like found footage.
Mm.
A lot of them didn't really have stories. They were just creepy stuff. And I think Marble Hornet, I can't quite remember, but I think they really ran with Slenderman.
Yeah, they did a Slenderman run. And it brought into like the rules of Slenderman. So the idea is that he steals kids, like and young adults. He has tentacles and he teleports, and sometimes he can create proxies, which is like kids doing his work for him.
Yeah. And
this is where it kind of gets to get a bit intense. So I think it was after a couple of years of Slenderman being around, in 2014, it actually caused a massive incident where two 12-year-old girls in America stabbed one of their classmates 19 times in the forest.
Yeah, because she didn't believe Slenderman was real.
Yeah, so it was like, I don't believe Slenderman. They stabbed her, and then they got arrested. Of course, they were arrested. The kid luckily survived 19 stab wounds in a forest.
Yeah.
She crawled out of the forest by herself, and a cyclist found her. So she lived, luckily.
Yeah.
The two other girls were obviously arrested,
Mm.
and they were charged with like murder, obviously, but they were put as way as mental illness, so they got less than sentence because of insanity reasons.
Yeah.
And these girls were obviously not in the right head, so they said the Slenderman asked them to tell them to kill the girl because she didn't believe in them, and they were doing it so they could become like proxies of Slenderman. They didn't work for Slenderman, so
they wanted to be his disciples.
Yeah, and
that's insane.
So they went to court. One of them got reduced sentence for. She got only 3 years in an insane ward, and she was supposed to be released this year, but they took her back to court, and now she's in there for like 40 years.
Oh wow, okay.
Yeah, another one's in there for like 37 years. And they actually said that the girls said they could talk to Lord Voldemort, and one of them was part of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. So the girls are actually insane.
Crazy, yeah.
But that's one of the dangers of these creepypasta things, when they can get this popular. Little kids are like we said, we believe it wholeheartedly.
People jump on it too much. They believe it too much, and they make some stupid decisions. So creepypastas are fun, but we've got to be realistic. It's fun to speculate that some might be real,
do this
but
crazy stuff. There's also
we can't get this crazy.
Yeah. And there's also other stories about a girl attacking her mum, saying Slenderman told her to kill her. There's one about a girl trying to burn her house down, saying Slenderman told her to do it. So it's a massive thing.
Yeah, people took it way too seriously.
Yeah, big time. And so this Slenderman story, I'll leave it on a light note rather than that serious, but I just thought we should talk about it because it was like a big thing to happen from the Slenderman story. But yeah, so they eventually made a movie about it in 2018, which flopped massively.
If they released this movie in 2013, it would have been one of the top grossing movies of all time.
Yeah, everyone would have seen it. But
it would have been a cultural icon. Like, it would have been crazy.
Yeah, but because it's too late, it flopped. No one actually gave a shit because she released it earlier.
Well, yeah, they just completely... I don't know. They just completely...
Yeah. But they did get a couple good games out of it. If you guys ever played the Slender games, when you're in the forest trying to collect papers,
that was fun. Yeah,
that was considered one of the most scariest games in the world.
Yeah,
which we could actually, because we've been. This is a good time to announce it, I guess. We're thinking of doing a couple like horror games on Twitch.
Yeah,
stream a couple horror games
and YouTube or any stream.
Anything. So we could play Slender.
Yeah, we should. I mean, I don't think anyone's played it in forever, so it'd be fun, like, little nostalgia.
Yeah, for a quick little go. I've never played it before properly.
I played it a few times, like, in, 2013, but I never had it on my own laptop or anything like that. So I just, took turns with friends and...
That's the way to play it.
Yeah, so I don't actually know, I can't really remember or think of anything. But, yeah. Alright. Slenderman was a crazy one.
Yeah, insanely crazy story. So it was just so real, you know.
It just felt real, even though... Yeah. I don't know.
Why did we think it was so real? It was so stupid.
But how did it convince everyone that it was real? I mean, I know we kind of talked about it before, but it just seems to make...
Now looking back on it, makes no sense.
Now looking back on it, you're like, of course that was fake. But at the time, I was like, dude, I don't know. This actually...
even back then, we didn't even believe in Bloody Mary or anything like that.
No. But even all the killjoys that would usually be like, oh no, like all the kids that would tell you Santa wasn't real when you were young.
Yeah.
Those same kids were like, yeah, dude, I don't know, Slenderman.
Everyone believed it, man. Everyone believed it. Anyway, we should move on from that little story of the week.
Yeah.
A bit different, but Slenderman was
Something
so
cool.
big.
Yeah.
And so scary. Back in the day when we were little kids.
Yeah.
Terrifying, though. Terrifying.
So the weekly focus this week is cats. Now, this is actually, they're a bit more interesting than you think. So cats are not, well, I mean, we all know what a cat is, but we're going to go into a bit more of the mystic and kind of mythological aspects of cats. And
Not necessarily just being a house pet.
yeah, well, see, the thing that's interesting about cats, so they're in heaps of mythology. In Egyptian mythology, there are sacred animals. Muhammad, the Islamic kind of prophet, said that he would do without his cloak rather than to disturb a cat sleeping on it. A gravesite in Cyprus, dated to be around 7,500 BC, shows a person buried with a cat. Cats are believed to bring good luck in Japan, the same with Shakespeare's times in Europe. And actors saw cats as good luck. The cats are also associated with the Virgin Mary in Middle Age mythology. So in like some books, when it talked about the Virgin Mary giving birth to Jesus, it would also say at the same time a mother cat gave birth to a kitten. But the thing I found super interesting was cats naturally coexisted with people for the last almost 10,000 years. And that's probably why they feature in a lot of mythology. But there was kind of the idea that a lot of cats were domesticated during the Middle Ages to get rid of rats, because rats carried so many diseases and things like that. So people wanted to have cats so they could get rid of the rats. But it seems that that's not entirely true, and apparently cats actually wanted to live with humans and lived with humans from very early on. And it is way predated all this getting rid of rats and rodents and things like that. So what I kind of want to, because I feel like a few times we've had some really interesting experience with cats.
Yeah. We
were walking once and we kind of stopped at this it was like a dead end street. We were just going for a walk at night, and there was like this one like street light, and we stop and we see all these like caterpillars like everywhere all over the ground. We're like,
well, we see like one at start, and we're like, oh, it's a caterpillar. When's the last time you seen a caterpillar? Then there was 3 more. Then there was like 10 more. And there was like 50 all around us. And we're like, how did
there was
we
more than that, dude. There was probably 200, 300 caterpillars.
And we were sitting there for like 5 minutes before we even realised they were there.
Yeah, and so we stopped. So that's why we stopped to check out these weird caterpillars. And that's another story in itself.
Yeah.
Like wondering what the hell those were doing. But we were looking at them, and then we see this cat just standing right underneath this street light, staring straight at us, and it starts circling us, and I'm like, well, this cat's like actually like, you know, like he wants to square up or something.
He's interested.
And I was looking at this cat, and I was thinking to myself, like, piss off, like, you stupid cat, like, but it locked eyes. And so I'm like, all right, I'm going to beat you at your own game. And I think you were still like looking at the caterpillars, and I started circling the cat too. And I'm like, I'm just going to like punk this stupid thing, right? But the cat locking eyes with me isn't blinking. And I'm like, dude, I'm like low-key intimidated by this cat right now. And so I was like, looking at this cat, I'm like, and I just stopped circling it. I just like walked back a bit, and then it just stood there. And then I think it ran off or something, but it was like, that cat straight up just like beat me in a game of like chicken. Like I thought I was gonna pump it, but it made me back down. I'm like, that was a freaking cat. Like,
was it just a cat?
Like, it was just something. The way it just didn't break stare at all, and it was just so like. And from that moment, I'm like, all right, there's something more to these animals, because no other animal does that. I mean, I'm sure like a lion would or something, but like just a little cat, like. See, if a lion did that with me, I'd be scared because the lion could rip me in pieces. Yeah. A cat can't do shit. Like, sure, it could claw me or something, but like, if I had to fight to the death with a cat, I'd back myself to get a lot of scratches, but I'd like,
kick it in the head.
Yeah, I'd fucking kill it.
Yeah, yeah.
But it was just so intimidating. And then we were like talking about how freaky the cat was and stuff. And we walk and we turn a corner, and right in front of us, waiting about 10 meters up from the corner, is the same cat.
Yeah, this is like 10 minutes later.
Well. Oh no, more, 15. Right?
Yeah.
We turn a corner and the cat's
It's
just sitting
in
there
there,
under a
staring
light
at us.
again, staring straight at us like he's
it's-
waiting for
And
us.
it's in the middle of the night, and so the street we were on, there were like 2 street lamps on the street. One over
Yeah.
over the caterpillars, and one over this cat, pretty much.
Well, it was round the corner, yeah.
Yeah, but the rest of the street was pretty much dark out.
Yeah, there are only a handful of them, yeah.
Yeah.
Dark street, and it's waiting right under the street light.
Looking straight at
All the
us.
footpaths staring straight at us, and we're just like,
What the hell?
no. Like, it wasn't... When do you ever see a cat just standing in the middle, or sitting? It was sitting, facing towards us, in the middle of a footpath.
And it's not like we walked onto the street and it turned its head at us. It was just staring
It
directly
was
at us.
staring
It's like-
straight there. We turned and see it right in front of us.
Yeah.
Like, what the hell is the thing doing?
Yeah.
And so I've just, every time, since then, I've been a bit mesmerised by cats. I remember once going for a walk ages ago and sitting down at like a bench to take a break. And I was just like, it was a nice day. I just sat down for a bit, had a drink of water, and a cat just hops up onto the bench and sits next to me. And at first I was gonna like shoo it away, but then I'm like, no, wait a minute. This cat it knows something. And I'm like, like this cat, why is it looking at me like this? Like, what does it kind of know? And I didn't tell it to like piss off or anything. I just sort of sat with it there and it just sat next to me. And I was like, this cat can like read my mind or something. Like, it's interested in something to do with me. Like, it reads my energy or something like that. I didn't know what it was. But I'm like, no other animal just does this. They're so mysterious and elegant with the way they walk and stuff. Like, it's just, I don't know, there's something about cats.
Yeah, and the fact that there's most ancient religions and cultures have a thing about cats.
Yeah.
Like right now, I'm looking at ancient Greece had a thing with cats. Ancient Rome had a thing with cats. Norse mythology, the goddess Freya was associated with cats. They sought protection with their crops, leaving like pans of milk out for cats and stuff like that. Folklore. There's one about, it says right here that as early as 1607 tells that a cat will suffocate a newborn infant by putting its nose to the child's mouth, sucking the breath out of that infant. What?
Yeah, and it's weird as well because
Weird
cats
stuff.
weren't, I mean, okay, they had the whole they killed rats thing, but
Useful.
what other purpose do they serve? You don't get milk or eggs or
Why are
meat
they
from them.
Why aren't dogs held in such
Well,
high
dogs are
regard?
useful. You can tell a dog to
But
go
like-
and do something.
But they're not worshipped in cultures.
Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah, because
Yeah.
they were like a companion that you actually use, but like dogs, cats don't give you any food, and so it's. I mean, you can eat a cat, but people generally don't.
And there's a lot of occult surrounded by cats. Like black cats are considered insanely unlucky.
Yeah.
Associated with witches and like potions and all that kind of
Yeah,
stuff.
that kind
like
of typical
cult
stereotype.
stuff. Yeah.
Actually, I wonder where that comes from. Boot that up. Look up where the whole black cat mythology thing comes from. It's something we should have thought of. Because that whole black cat thing, and people, I always knock on wood when I see a black cat.
Yeah.
Because it's just like,
There's so much superstition behind it.
yeah.
So it says here, Scottish law holds that a strange black cat's arrival in the home signifies prosperity.
That seems like the opposite.
Yeah, so it's actually considered a bringer of good or bad luck.
Oh, so it's just something.
Yeah.
Okay.
In Germany, some believe that black cats crossing a person's path from right to left is a bad omen, but from left to right, the cat is granting favourable times.
Okay, I'll keep that
So
one.
it's not just considered.
Yeah, okay, so that's typical of pop culture to spin it a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, that's so typical.
Yeah, pirates of the 18th century believed that a black cat would bring different kinds of luck.
Okay, so it doesn't just mean
If they
bad
walk
luck,
towards someone, it's good luck. They walk away, it's bad luck. So it's
Yeah,
both.
okay.
I don't know why it's Oh, actually, I know exactly why.
Yeah.
1880s, the colour black was associated with anarchism.
Oh.
So that's why.
So
They
stupid.
just associated that with witches.
That's so dumb.
There you go.
That's so stupid. Alright. Well, if you're a witch and you have a black cat, comment below and tell us why you like your black cat. And
Yeah.
witches would be an interesting weekly focus, the pop
we should
culture
actually
about
do witches.
witches. Yeah.
There's a lot of like interesting things. There's a lot of there's so much stuff in the air about witches, and so much of the history about them are like insanely false. Like the Salem witch trials.
Yeah, it was all crap.
And in pop culture, the idea that they just went and burned women.
Yeah.
Is not true.
Yeah.
Most women considered witches were hung, and they obviously weren't witches.
But you know what's strange as well, and a lot of people listening might find this hard to believe. There is a ridiculous amount, and you can just call those people crazy if you want to, but there's a ridiculous amount of women that think of themselves as witches today.
Yeah,
like they will say to you, "I am a witch."
Yeah, in a way.
So many.
It's like in a way where we consider ourselves like a male or female, whatever gender thing you fucking want to be. They'll consider themselves like they actually just straight up believe they are a witch and they have powers. Which they probably have some proof to.
Or they practice magic with a K, Magick, and they're females. Like, well, that makes me a witch. Which is interesting because you think this is something that's kind of died out, but actually there has been a resurgence due to the internet and the popularity of different kind of niche subgenres and more occulted topics becoming more famous. Witches are actually a bit of a resurgence, and a lot of these crystals and astrology kind of women do openly call themselves a witch.
Yeah,
and you can think like if you want to be judgmental, go ahead. Like I'm sure plenty of them are full of shit and don't know what they're talking about and stuff. Like no question, but some of them really believe it, and some of them probably practice magic or try magic all the time. And if you don't know what magic is, look it up with it. It's spelled Magick. It's different from the Harry Potter stuff's ridiculous. Like,
it's not spells.
It's not more, like shit coming out of the normal wand.
It's more like energy.
It's
transferring energy into doing other things, and it's not like I turn you into a frog. It's like if I do this and this and this, maybe this will happen. And it's all set in grounded reality. The idea that magic is a force beyond.
What's an energetic force?
Yeah, and the idea that it's like I got a wand turn you into something, but like you know what I'm saying, spell out. It's not like that. It's more like voodoo almost.
A bit.
Like.
Well, an example of
a spell is like a full event. It's not just like a flip.
It's a ritual.
Yeah, it's a ritual.
Because the thing is, you want to create a lot of energy. So a lot of okay, I'll give you an example of something. So if you wanted to do a spell to get say you wanted to get over an ex, and you wanted to do a spell to get over that ex. Now this sounds like something that seems stupid, and you can have whatever opinion you want. I don't really care. I'm just telling you what these people believe. What you do is you write that ex's name on a piece of paper or something, and then you watch it. You set fire to it, and you watch it burn. And you might do this under a full moon, for example. And what that does, you might do it on the full moon at midnight. And what that does is the more energy you've kind of created around the event, the more you've led up to it. Maybe you didn't eat for a day. Maybe you didn't, release any bodily fluids for a week. Things like that. You're building up energy. You've got energy of the full moon, the midnight, kind of feeling the vibe of it being midnight, and you watch that ex's name burn. You've created a lot of energy around that event. So that when you ever think of that ex again, you just think of like all this negative energy that's around it, and you watch them burn. And the ritual part of your brain, because there is a part of your brain that responds to ritual, understands that it's time to get over.
Yeah, so this might sound like a lot of horse crap because it sounds like we're just talking about spells and magic. But if you take that and you say you go to a therapist and say, I can't get over this ex, what do you think they'll say to do? They'll say, get all this stuff and burn it. That's
a lot of people say that.
Yeah, they'll say
that's considered a magic spell.
So that's the idea of it. It's all grounded in reality, and there's a lot of similarities to just basic self-help stuff, like rituals, getting up in the morning, doing a ritual.
Well, a lot of people say that stuff is magic.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's what the magic we're talking about, not necessarily
the Harry Potter stuff coming out your wand is. Yeah. So there is a part of your brain that knows, that thinks consciously and knows like, oh, you've broken up with this person, you don't like them anymore, get over them. But then the ritual part of your brain, the part of your brain that responds to ritual, if it doesn't get that ritual, it isn't satisfied. And that might be why you keep liking this person, for example. And if you satisfy the ritual part of your brain, it goes, oh, okay, I can forget about it now, it's done. And so it actually can create more favourable events for you. One thing you often might have heard of, and I know the weekly focus is supposed to be cats, but we'll do a full weekly focus on Magick sooner or later. Obviously, you've probably heard of the law of attraction. People think there is a mystical element that, like, you literally attract, something into your life if you think about it a lot. It's kind of how it works. If you really want to see something and you keep repeating in your head, your reticular activation system knows to look out for it. So whether you might usually have seen it and just not drawn any attention to it, this time you actually notice it. And another thing that happens is if, say, you want to reach a goal, like you want to earn a certain amount of money, well, if you keep telling yourself in your brain, I'm going to earn this amount of money, I'm going to earn this amount of money, I'm going to earn this amount of money, your brain will eventually just believe it and just make you earn that amount of money. Yeah. And so you can look at it rationally and say, well, that's not magic, that's just, common sense how it works. And it's like, well,
that's what magic.
But that's
the
idea of it. It's the people who think magic is Harry Potter spells.
Wizards and
think it's
wands
ridiculous. Yeah, just because it's called magic, let's call it something else. Let's give it any other name, and you'd be like, oh, that's a cool technique. But it's just because it's called magic, people like, oh, that's retarded.
And like I said earlier, there's so much similarities with real stuff in the world that people actually use. Like therapists will say, do this and this and this, and you can like read online and be like, that's very similar to what this witch told me. Like doing a spell.
Yeah.
Alright, let's try and get back to cats.
Sure. Yeah, let's get back to cats.
So I just found something here. So the idea, it still relates to witches. So the idea of black cat and witches is that they will act as spies and couriers.
Couriers?
Yeah.
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 Interesting.
Like, living messages and stuff.
Yeah.
And they were viewed as a companion. And then anyone caught with So anyone supposedly caught with a black cat would be severely punished or even killed. So that, I guess that's where unluck comes into it as well.
Yeah, that's why I was unlucky, because you get seen with one, you get killed.
Yeah. So these superstitions led people to kill black cats. And then there's a lot of apparently there's a lot of, in folklore, they burned a lot of cats at midsummer bonfires. But there's actually no evidence for that.
Interesting.
Or large-scale massacres of cats.
Whoa.
And there's a lot of stuff, like when the plague, like a town in medieval times would get infested, there was a big idea of sweeping the city and killing all the cats in the city as well. Because the idea is like, they ate the rats, so they're going to have the plague, which is fair enough, but it'd be more like, let's just get rid of the cats.
Yeah, interesting.
Because they're not considered
useful,
good creatures, to be honest. They're considered evil.
They're just mysterious.
But I reckon that's just the idea that cats are evil. I don't agree with.
No. Well, they're worshipped in so many cultures. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, but so before this this witch stuff, they were considered, people praise them and worship them, and they were massive in so many different cultures. They were used to kill animals and.
Yeah, it's so typical that something good just kind of gets inverted and gets discussed as being evil.
Yeah, they were talked about with Virgin Mary. They were associated with Virgin Mary, which is Virgin Mary is supposed to be like this, the most innocent and like.
Yeah.
God's greatest.
I mean, the Prophet Muhammad.
Yeah.
Who over 1 billion people follow this guy's religion. He said he preferred to do without his cloak rather than to disturb a cat sleeping on it. Like, he'd rather not wear his cloak out and be cold than to disturb the cat sleeping on it. This guy's the figure of a giant religion that over
cats
1
have
billion people follow.
Been considered good luck in Russia for centuries.
Yeah, in Japan, Europe,
China,
in Cyprus.
Cats were favourite pets during the Chinese Song Dynasty.
Yeah, I heard the China one too.
It's all before basically like the Renaissance and witches and that stuff. Cats were considered like top dogs.
Because even in 1600s, even in Shakespeare times,
makes you think, eh?
Yeah.
What changed? What made them want to?
Makes you think.
Yeah, man.
The Renaissance time, huh?
If you guys are on it, then you're on it. But if you're not, then
you know.
Look into the Renaissance. Big change during that time.
Some better than others.
So it makes you think that just looking on I'm looking at like two different websites here. I just searched up cats. One's a Wikipedia article, and one's this other random one. Just looking at this, the most basic thing, just logically, you can see a shift over time where cats were worshipped to when they were despised
and feared.
And yeah, so it makes you think.
Yeah. It really does make you think. And it's a bit like a lot of things which you were told were evil, which you found out actually weren't evil. A lot of things you're told were good. And we can get into those things in another episode, but...
Yeah, we'll do a Magick one, I reckon.
Yeah, definitely. For sure. Yeah.
That's really interesting.
Yeah, no, Alright, next week's weekly focus is Magick. Heard it here first. Alright, anyway, do you want to get on to the discovery of the week?
Yeah, so this one's quite interesting. There's not a lot on it, but it should lead into a cool little talk anyway. Recently they've found massive shafts or tunnels near Stonehenge. So everyone knows what Stonehenge is, right? Massive. What do you even call it? Like a rock pillars in a circle, and there's a lot of mystery. No one knows where it actually really came from. A lot of people believe that Celts carry these stones over hundreds of kilometers, which it doesn't really seem plausible.
Make any sense? Yeah, because the nearest rock kind of quarry was so far away.
Yeah. So there's a lot of paganism, cult stuff associated around this.
Well, because it's an astrological site. I think on the summer solstice, the sun shines right through it perfectly, something like that. And that's so interesting because it was all put in exactly the right position.
Well, recently, they found these shafts around the summer solstice as well.
Oh, okay.
So it's all a bit interesting. So there's not a whole lot to go on about the shafts. Basically, they're found 3 kilometers away from Stonehenge, and they've been described as they are suspected to be the biggest prehistoric structure found in Britain, but it hasn't been completely searched yet. It's still all up in the air. A lot of people can say it's just sinkholes. There's evidence that they were dug out, which would have taken an insane amount of time as well. There are about 20 shafts. A lot of them are inaccessible due to modern development, like roads and towns. There's a town right near it. Each of the shafts is more than 5 meters deep and 10 meters in diameter. So they're not small, they're not big things. Meters. So a lot of people are saying it's sinkholes and stuff like that, but there's evidence that people dug it out. They found some little stones and shovels and stuff, but it could be who really knows? It's still early days. They did radiocarbon dating, which has pinned the site more than 4,500 years ago. So it's somewhat contemporary with Stonehenge. So it's ancient, it's old.
How old is Stonehenge exactly?
No one really knows, but
a few thousand at least. It's a pagan thing.
Yeah. There's no... I don't...
It just missed me with this paganism equals evil bullshit. I don't want to hear it. It's just not true. Pagans were Satanists. No, that's just the most stupidly oversimplified way to look at it.
So they believe it was constructed 3000 BC to 2000 BC. So it's around the same time.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Around the same time, if not older. So they're still looking to it. Like I said, there's not a whole lot on it, but it is interesting that these are found just down the road from Stonehenge. Considered a massive masterpiece of engineering if it was done by humans.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, wow. And it probably was done by humans.
Yeah.
Makes sense, right?
It could have been anything. Could have been
maybe that's where they got the stones from Stonehenge.
Well, maybe. Could have done it
underground, yeah.
Makes sense, only 3 k's away if it was made by...
If there were stones. Yeah, if it was made by humans.
Aliens?
If it was made by humans, or with human technology. No, but seriously though, and we laugh about it, but we have no idea how they possibly could have made it with tools that we think were available to them. So
if they had other tools that we don't know about, fair enough.
no, but that's the thing. Like that's
But,
what
yeah.
that's what I'm saying. What tools did they have?
Yeah.
Because we'd struggle to make things like the pyramids even today.
Yeah, exactly.
Almost impossible.
It would take ages.
So and theirs is so perfectly aligned with the stars and everything.
There is an argument saying they could have been taken from this quarry and dragged all this way over how many years. Fair enough, but like, just
why?
think, why is it there and not near the quarry? Why
Yeah.
does it have to be this specific point in
Yeah.
England? And it's not necessarily great point. There's no argument for why it should be here. Basically, it's in the middle of England, like down south. Like it's not in the center of England. It's not in the center of a circle.
Doesn't
anywhere.
appear to be in any particular. And also, if you lived in 2000, 3000 BC, it was hard enough just to get food and stay alive every day, let alone drag thousands of tons of stone, hundreds of kilometers.
Yeah.
Like, what? No, why? For what purpose?
Yeah, exactly. It's weird. So if these shafts were really where the stones from, that makes more sense. But still.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, who knows?
I mean, it's something we'll never know, but that's an interesting discovery,
yeah.
because when we started this segment, we kind of thought, like, will there even be a worthwhile discovery each week? And so far, there pretty much has been. Like,
Yeah.
it's crazy how much new stuff gets discovered all the time that you don't really hear about.
Yeah, you have to look at, you have to search it up. You have to search for. The process that I do is I search either just on Google saying discoveries and go to news and I go to
Yeah.
like the 10th page where something actually interesting shows up.
Yeah.
Or like I go to like cited websites and stuff where they
Yeah.
constantly release like new ancient discoveries or
Yeah.
archaeological discoveries.
So interesting. Stop watching reality TV and start learning something.
Yeah, go out and read about Stonehenge.
Yeah, that's Stonehenge and things like the pyramids would be another cool focus to do, because there are
There's
if
so
you
much
don't,
weird
and the
stuff
Sphinx
behind
and stuff, there's just so much stuff which makes no sense how it all comes together and how it works.
Yeah, there's a lot of there's so much folklore about Stonehenge. Like there's an idea that Merlin helped build Stonehenge from Arthurian times, which
what does Graham Hancock think of Stonehenge?
I don't know. Actually, do not know. I don't think.
That's weird because he's English.
Yeah, but he's just Egypt.
Well, he loves his South American
That
stuff
is
as
true.
well.
He
I've
did
never
love
heard him
his-
talk about Stonehenge.
He loves his what's his
Middle East and stuff as
Yeah.
well. He's not just Egypt.
Yeah.
That is weird. He's got to have an opinion on
If
Stonehenge.
you guys don't know who Graham Hancock is, he is an absolute genius. And
He's
you go
the
ahead
man.
and
Watch him. He's been
so
on Joe
smart.
Rogan's podcast a million times.
Yeah.
And all of them are so good. He's basically just trying to point out all the archaeological faults in the world and all the things that don't make any sense and all the things that look like they're being covered up. And he just, like, his stuff that he proves is just incredible. Like, he proves things beyond a shadow of a doubt.
He has done some stuff on it.
Yes, I knew he
We'll
had.
have to look into it later, but
Yeah,
that's interesting.
we'll bring that to you next week.
Yeah. So, but there's heaps of. So, like I was saying earlier, there's the idea that Merlin helped and he was part of the Arthurian legends, which aren't considered history. I don't think there's no evidence for them being. There's no evidence for King Arthur that was actually a person or anything like that. The stories are.
Yeah, and
factually make believe, but there's no evidence for them actually existing.
I think a lot of the Merlin stuff is probably to do with the fact that a lot of people think that the Stonehenge and pyramids and stuff were built using levitation.
Yeah.
And so some kind of actually, ironically, Harry Potter-esque magic was used, and they used kind of frequencies that could more or less levitate stones, and I don't know how they could do that, but that's a theory. That they somehow worked out some magnetics or some magnetic frequencies, some energy that was basically able to lift stones off the ground.
Yeah.
Which
I wonder what the Romans thought of Stonehenge when they rocked up.
I wouldn't have a clue.
Yeah.
We need to touch up on our history.
Yeah, definitely. I don't know a lot about I know a bit about like Celtic stuff, but not a lot about like Roman England or anything like that.
Yeah, I've been watching this documentary about the history of Europe lately, and it's so interesting.
Insane.
Yeah.
There's so much like crossing over between different cultures. There's so much different empires owning so much land for such like massive amount of time.
Yeah.
Just completely controlling over it. Like
the craziest thing is about Europe is you can go back like 700. You go back 2,000 years and you get like the Roman Empire. You can go back 70 years and you get Hitler, and it's like, dude, like that. So much stuff happens. Like it is the craziest, most interesting place.
Yeah. And then it makes you think, because of so much stuff has happened, how much stuff we just don't know about as well. There's like so many years of just like, who the hell knows what's going on?
Yeah.
You know, like,
so many twists and turns of who reports what as what.
Yeah.
And
I reckon those cultures and societies we don't even know about, because they might not be.
Never wrote anything down.
Never wrote down.
A lot of pagan societies don't
just
write much
straight
down.
up murdered by Rome, who killed so many. They just swept Europe and killed so many people.
Yeah.
I reckon there's hidden stuff, and there's so much mystery around Europe as well.
Vatican and everything. Just insane.
The idea that most ancient cultures and religions do talk about a great flood.
Yeah.
In Europe.
Yeah.
Completely different religions as well.
Yeah.
The fact that Rome was so big.
Yeah.
Controlled most of Europe.
And all around the Mediterranean, North Africa too.
Yeah. And Egypt, Spain,
Yeah.
France, Germany, Italy, Turkey, Greece, England.
Everything around the Mediterranean.
Up to Russia. It's crazy.
Yeah.
And then Alexander the Great controlled like all the Middle East, all of Greece, all of Turkey, all of Egypt, and into India.
Yeah.
And he was like in his late 20s when he died. He did so much.
Yeah.
It's crazy, man. Like there's so much unique history in there.
Yeah. Yeah, we're gonna do a folk man. So many ideas for things to focus on.
Yeah, I reckon we should do like ancient Greece, ancient Rome, ancient Egypt stuff.
Yeah, we'll do it. If you like that idea, comment and tell us. But anyway, on to the quotes of the week. And my quote is, "Cats are intended to teach us that not everything in nature has a purpose." I thought that was cool because a lot of people talk to the evolutionary, like the real staunch evolutionary standpoint of, things breed because of, natural selection. I'm like, yeah, sure. But, it's just interesting to think that, then how does the cat rock up? Because what's the cat? I guess the cat is sneaky and things like that, but what does the cat do its whole life? It just walks around looking for food, just furballs, and when it dies, they just go off to, a little quiet place. They don't want to know anyone. They just die peacefully.
What's the thing about cats having 9 lives?
Well, I think it's because they seem to be able to just fall off anything and not ever...
They always land on their feet.
Yeah, they always land on their feet. I've watched cats do some crazy stunts.
That's true. I've seen cats get thrown out of windows and shit and walk off crazy stuff. Alright, my quote is, "When Slenderman screams, the world will end." I don't know who that was from. That was just some random quote from Slenderman I brought up.
That's funny. And we talked a bit last week about being on other platforms.
Yeah, so one of the questions we got was if we're ever thinking of doing live things and stuff like that, and I kind of answered that before.
And putting shit on Spotify and all that.
Yeah.
And yes, the answer is yes. We're going to get around to it this week. We're probably actually going to plan it all.
Yeah,
and get it all done.
And we're probably hopefully going to get a Switch streaming thing up.
Twitch
streaming thing up.
Yeah, we're gonna boot up Twitch stream. We're gonna get on Spotify, SoundCloud.
And we got a movie review coming. Movie reaction was released today.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so we did. I
know what you did last summer.
Which
was actually alright.
It was alright. And we're probably just gonna record a review in a second, but yeah, there's stuff to be tuned for, to look out for. Yeah,
and so hopefully by the podcast number 6 will be on all the audio platforms and stuff like that. That's the goal. All right. Anything else you got to say?
No.
No, we're all good. All right, good episode. Hope you enjoyed. Please like, comment, subscribe. It doesn't take long. Just do it. It really helps us out. And we'll see you in the next one. Adios.